Hello, everyone. Hopefully, everybody is now signing in. And for those of you who are going to attend this live at 5, I appreciate it. Um, I'll give people a few minutes because it's only 5 o'clock at this moment, and then I will get started. So, if you are joining us right now, please know that I appreciate it in advance. And I did prepare for this, but I might go off script. So just to kind of let you know that, give you a chance to get going. So let me go ahead and get started. My name is Terry, and I live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. For those of you who are not familiar with who I am, professionally, I am a licensed professional counselor and a clinical substance abuse counselor, and I've been working in human services for 29 years. In the last, I would say, 25 years, I've been really getting involved in a lot of social justice issues, been a part of a number of committees over the years. And after 2020, when the world kind of just changed a little bit, I had went on a sabbatical for some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about tonight. This last election, oh, one more thing. So also, what really brought this into fruition for me is I've been a doctoral student since 2020. So that's what I've been mainly doing. I work part time by providing clinical support and consultation to a number of nonprofit agencies, and along with mental health counseling and other things, program development and adjunct instructor. I'm mostly a full time doctoral student. I'm currently in my um, proposal phase of my dissertation. So my dissertation is very similar to what we just all witnessed this last week. And so just kind of getting to this point here, I'm still a little emotional, not surprised, but very disappointed. And so that Tuesday, I'm a poll worker. So I was at a 53204 location from 6:30 a.m. to 11:45 that evening. So by the time I woke up the next day on Wednesday, it was like a twilight zone. It's almost like I woke up in a movie to learn that President Trump is our president again. And I don't know how everybody else feels about this, but I'm not comfortable. I didn't like him being the president the first time, much less the second time. And so I would say, after kind of getting over my emotional hangover, just kind of still processing a lot of stuff. I've been listening to different commentaries from one extreme to the next. But I just wanted to add my voice because I know I do a lot of typing and a lot of things. People be like, I don't want to read all that. So I decided, I said, you know what? I'm going to go live. I don't do it too often. I think this is my second time doing it. And I said, I'm going to go live, but I really want this to be meaningful. You know, it's intentional, but I want it to be meaningful. So I'm not going to be going off script too much. And I only want to stay within an hour. So I'm going to get started in a second. But again, I just wanted to, again, I, when I know a lot of people in this community, a lot of great people in this community that I know are going to get more grinding on the boots going forward. But I just wanted people to know that I'm here, not only as a mental health professional, but as a sister supporter, as a community advocate, as a liberator, and as an agitator. Okay. For those of you who know me, know I've been, I'm a very boisterous person. I don't sugarcoat nothing. And so, with this going on now, I wanted to tone myself down a little bit, meaning I don't want to act out in rage or incompetence or ignorance, because we have enough of that, as we clearly know. And it says I have a low FPS. I have no idea what that is, so I don't know what my video is looking like. So I'm gonna continue because I don't know. So to get started, I'm gonna do a quote by W.B. Du Bois. So if you see me kind of diverting my attention off to the side, I work off of 3 screens on a daily basis. So I'm gonna go ahead and read. The problem of the 20th century is the problem of the color line, the relation of the darker to the lighter races of men in Asia and Africa, in American, the islands of the sea. So what I want to be clear about when I speak on this right now is this election, and I'm not saying nothing that you guys already don't know, but I want it to be clear going forward. This election was about race and gender, period. There's a matter of perspectives. You got the perspectives of this group, you got the perspectives of that group. But I think we all know better than that. And the reason why I wanted to be on live today, because I want it to be known to everybody, not just Black people, not just white people, Hispanics, Latinos, Asians, everybody. I want everybody to know this is about race and gender, period. This whole thing has been about race and gender. This whole country's history has been on race and gender. And I think for some of us who are on the minority side of things, we've been too passive. We've been just kind of milling along and just trying to be the bigger people in all of this. But I think at some point, where we are at now and where we're getting ready to go into, we need to be very intentional in how we're going to move forward. I do a lot of research. I spend a lot of time reading different journal articles, and I did a whole dissecting of the Declaration of Independence, because initially my dissertation started off with all men are created equal. And the reason why I did that, because I have a problem with the Black person being the minority or the inferiority of this world, when I totally disagree with that. And so I wanted to be clear and intentional when I spoke today, because I want people to understand my heart and my passion. And so just to kind of give some context to this, is race is an unequal relationship between two social groups represented by the privileged access to power and resources by one group over another. Race is socially constructed, created, and recreated by how people are perceived and treated in the normal actions of everyday life. What has been going on for too long is this colorblind ideology. One group knows about it, the other group doesn't, but they keep perpetuating and perpetrating racism. Now, I know from my relationships with white people, working with them, being in their presence, all of that kind of stuff, is why my conversation right now is intentional. Because if you ever worked in an environment predominantly by white people, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For those of you who don't, congratulations. But what I would say to you is, although, first of all, I would say there are some respectable allied white folks out here, and thank you for being that. But for the rest of them who we know, which is 80 something 100,000 of people, we know that that's a problem. And so for anybody out here who had a issue at work, or any type of situation where you were racially weaponized and nothing ever happened to you because everybody denied it and said it was implicit or it was unconscious, that's some bullshit. Okay, that's all a lie. They know very well what they do, what they say, and how they are. They know it. And so that we're here today, I am here today to let everybody know them days is over, because you're never going to know until you know. And the excuse has been, well, they don't know. They do know. And we have to start being intentional by calling people out. There has to be some accountability. This country is white supremacy, period. From the beginning, when Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, all of these forefathers, here's the ticket. Here's the ticket. When they said these were white men, white middle-class men, white middle-aged men who had property, we were the property. And that dog whistle is still being blown to this day. Abortion is a dog whistle because their numbers are shrinking. And some of the things, I know some of you know this. I know a lot of you know this. But I just want to reiterate it because it's important. When we talk about the decline of white survival, and what it's doing is making them panic. So these abortion bans ain't got nothing to do with us. I don't want to hear no more black people talking about they trying to do this. They don't care about us. We're not part of the democracy. Okay, we're not. And we'll be lucky if we're not sent up out of here when they use the 14th Amendment to remove us. Because that's what keeps us here, is the 14th. We're based on an amendment. American is synonymous with white, period. And so when they talk about democracy, I wrote a paper just last semester in the spring that democracy is a hypocrisy with democracy. Democracy is really just a very mild. It's like if you had mild, like hot wings, you got mild, medium, and hot, right? So you got democracy, you got plutocracy, and you got oligarchy, right? And then there's another one I just brought up the other day, which is called kleptocracy. Kleptocracy is unstrained political corruption ruled by thieves. Sounds familiar? That's what we're getting ready to see right now. So I don't feel bad. I wasn't bamboozled. What I'm planning to do is continue to do what I do best and to be supportive of those who need help getting through this. But I will say that, this election was a very in-your-face example of the Black experience, where no matter how many credentials, qualifications, or whatever, they still found a way and a reason to deny her ability to do something that this guy, who did not do anything but be assaulting, race. I mean, he was everything we know he is. And this time he did it uncut and clear. He just did it and people still went for it. And that says a lot about who we are as a country when you have the type of person Trump is. And I don't care how people feel about Kamala Harris. I don't care. This conversation is about Trump and all those people that felt he was the person that needed to be back in office again. This man did an insurrection. I don't care about his 39 felonies or whatever. He did an insurrection. January 6, 2021. That right there should have been enough to keep him out of office. So what does that say to all of us when this is what's going to be running the country? For my Christians, I thought about you guys too. Barabbas Barabbas, I might be pronouncing his name wrong, was a criminal who was chosen over Jesus by the people who chose Jesus over Barabbas to crucify. Sounds familiar? So they say if we don't know our history, we're doomed to repeat it. I challenge everybody. We need to start talking about our history because we're doomed as we repeat it. Like many things have said, our history doesn't start as slavery, but that is our unfortunate history. We cannot continue like this. I'm not inferior. And that's why I keep getting in trouble, because I know I'm not inferior, and I'd be damned to let anybody make me think I'm inferior. And they did. They did. They tried to make me think or feel I was inferior because I don't bow down to white people. I say what I need to say. You cannot say nothing around me about you don't know, because you know now, because you're going to know. And that's the problem. Like Belinda, thank you, cuz. No accountability. None. These allegedly these black men that were supposed to vote for Trump, you guys are finna be hunting season because he already given people permission to kill us. This is gonna be a really bad situation in so many ways. And it's unfortunate that it took something like this to happen, which I've been predicting forever, that it's going to take something astronomical to happen before we as black people get it. And I'm not excluding my other Hispanic, Latin, Asian friends and cohorts and peers. I'm not exempting you. I'm just saying that we are the descendants of enslaved Africans. Our situation is different. We're different. We're not refugees, we're not immigrants, and we're not colonials. We were kidnapped and imported over here. And although that's not a good history, it isn't. And so we need to understand all the stuff that we've been through. Now, one thing I do know, black people, we're resilient. We're resilient. We are fighters. We take care of our business. We've turned garbage into gourmet. And they have appropriated us forever. They've appropriated everything we've ever done. They've taken everything we've done and made it theirs. No, this is not our country. This belongs to the indigenous people that they just totally ruled out. And they got the nerve to say they want to round up everybody like cattle and send them back wherever they come from. And you got Elon Musk, who's also an immigrant from South Africa. You got Trump and his VP man, Vance, JD Vance, who is also married to an immigrant. The hypocrisy is real. So pay attention to the dog whistle. The dog whistle is not immigrants. The dog whistle is people of color. People of color. And here's another lesson that most people don't know. Even though the number of white people is shrinking, there's still a number of people of color who, by census and nationality, is considered white. India, Pakistanians, and Arabs, and North Africans, they're all checked off as white on paper. Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, if you ever worked in corrections, you'll see, like, that's where they started, probably like about 1980, where they said, oh, whoa, this number of Hispanics is growing. We need to start distinguishing who is white and who's not Hispanic. Where do you think that started from? But see, here's the thing. They said a long time ago, if you want to hide something, hide in the book, because they believe we don't read. They believe we don't read. They believe we don't swim. And that's, like with the little chair incident last year, oh, they don't swim. Yeah, we do swim. Don't forget, we come from an island. We come from a place where water exists. We do. Matter of fact, we can do any and everything. And we've proven it. And that's why they don't like us. Because anything we are able to do, we have triumphant. And that's why they don't like us. And so I challenge some of you to read books or even listen to YouTube videos about Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, who talks about color annihilation. She talks about this. She's passed away now since 2016, but she's talked about color annihilation from 1970. She was on Phil Donahue back in the 70s, 80s. And this stuff is still going on. And so I refuse to be devalued any longer. And I refuse to take ignorance as an excuse. Or I don't know, or I'm colorblind. There's no such thing as colorblind unless you're legally colorblind. Because if you could stop at a red light and go on green, you ain't colorblind. So let me go back into symbolic racism. So there's a concept called symbolic racism. And again, this is the ideology behind white people who want to believe what they believe. Okay, so symbolic racism is basically racial resentment. Okay, racial resentment. So what it is the negative feelings that aversive racists have for Black people who do not reflect it hostilely, right? They're not hostile or hateful about it, right? You're over here, we're fine, right? So even though white people ironically have this generalization problem, like they don't like to be generalized, they believe they're individualistic. That's a lie. They're the only race of people who live all together. We live with everybody. They live amongst themselves. So how are you individuals? When you act the same, you dress the same, you work the same, you walk the same. Stop it already. They're distorted, they're delusional. And so what it says is, instead of their reactions involving discomfort, uneasiness, disgust, and sometimes fear. This is what they're doing. Fear. And here's the part that I don't like. Who needs to be afraid of who? You can't tell me one Black individual in history that has done half of the stuff white people have done to Black people. Hispanics, Asians, y'all have Native Americans, y'all have murdered, killed, diseased everybody. And you now still doing it. And, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, because this is the facts. Europeans have never contributed anything to the world. Nothing. They traveled the world and they just killed everything they came in contact with. And if they didn't kill it, they stole from it and raped it. And that's the truth. I'm tired of being an angry Black woman. Because I really got a reason to be angry. Why? Because I'm smarter, got more education, and whatever else I need. And I still get paid less, don't get promotions because I'm not qualified. And you know what not qualified means, right? That means I refuse to assimilate or conform. That's all it means. So when you got a position, if you Black and you got a position, you need to ask yourself, what did you have to sacrifice to be in that position? What are you giving up? What are you doing with that position? Because you know what, we always hear, well, we can't do this, we can't do that, but they do. They do what they want to do. Why can't we do what we want to do? Why is 53206 still a hot damn mess? I know it should have been fixed because I sat at tables when they were talking about it 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. And it's still a dilapidated area. When is it going to happen? You know what? It's not going to happen. It's not. Because they don't want it to happen. Because you know what? When it was going down, when they showed... So here's again the garbage to gourmet conversation. Black folks always been put, like when they moved up here from the South, which is like another a subject of study that needs to be discussed, when it called the Jim Crow migration, right? Blacks came up here from the South, they wanted to get industrial jobs, and then they was planning in Ohio, Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, and that's pretty much it. So when we were here in Wisconsin and we build, we always have to start from scratch all the time. We're building. All of a sudden, by the 60s, they're like, oh, we want to build a freeway. What about we go through Brownsville? So they did. And then they moved all of us west, but we couldn't go further west because Wauwatosa was a sundown town. Okay, and it just stopped being one like probably in the early 90s, honestly. And if you don't drive too right, you might still get pulled over again for nothing. I know I have. So again, and I tell you this because as almost like a historian, an informal historian, I remember when A.L. Smith closed and crack seemed to fall in the same time. It seemed like it happened at the same time. And so as somebody who's a Gen X, we did not have the same resources to go to work from high school into retirement as our parents did. But then we also have a number of people who also were not trained in technology to move on to the next level. That was intentional. You know why? Because the public school systems are funded by taxpayer dollars. And with most people being renters, they're not putting money in. And so one of the things that I was protesting a couple of years ago was that Milwaukee County hired predominantly people that lived outside of Milwaukee, meaning that they're taking their six-figure salaries to these neighboring counties and they're paid up. School nice, police nice, fire department, all of their infrastructures are taken care of while we over here starving. I'm not okay with that. I'm not. And so I have a problem with that. And so we need to do better. So when I'm going back to symbolic racism, so when we talk about anti-Black effect, which is racial anxiety, which is saying that they believe that we are over exceeding what is owed to us from the government, right? Part of their fear is not what we could do to them, is what they fear we could get. The reason why they're never going to admit to our situation with racism, because they don't want to pay us reparations, because if they admit to it, then they have to pay it. So they're going to keep on, like now, Florida and Texas, if you don't know, Florida and Texas was the pilot study for what the United States of America is going to look like. That's why Cruz and DeSantis are on top of the food chain, because their states already put implementation into practice. That's why I don't understand why some of y'all moved to Texas. Why? It's a slave state. But then again, so is Wisconsin. This is a plantation too, Mississippi. So when Kamala was saying $25,000 for housing and $6,000 for childcare and starting businesses, all they heard was, this for the Black people, this for the Black people, this for the Black people. Look at them. They always were trying to live off the government. That's what they was thinking, even though she was specific that it's for everybody. This is for the world. This is for Americans. That's not what these white folks heard. Symbolic racism. They heard, here they go again, living off the government. So when you got a Black woman, again, Trump said it. Oh, I thought she was Indian. You know why? Because they are the chosen minority. So when she was Indian, cool. But as soon as she said she was Black, that's when it went, poof. That's when he started talking about she was stupid, ignorant, stupid, dumb. Just, my goodness. Brothers, again, Malcolm X said, the most disrespectful woman in America is the Black woman. He and them talked about her so bad, somebody should have slapped the shit out of him. Why do we got to keep going through this? Why do we got to keep being disrespected? Like it's okay. Disrespect they white women, see what happens to you. This been going on forever. One of my theories is, for people who have been in spaces when I talk about race and racism, is the only thing different about the United States of America is the wallpaper. The only thing that changes is the wallpaper. So you got the wallpaper from 1600, then they changed it in 1700, 1800, 1900, now we in 2000, and the only thing we doing different is changing the wallpaper. We ain't changed nothing else. And a lot of us running around here thinking we free, but guess what? The examples have been made. They took 3 rich brothers and showed you within a week how they can break them off. Pay attention. Stop being distracted. Pay attention. Diddy, Ye, and what's that boy name? The one that have all the kids. Anyway, if his name come to my mind or somebody put it in the chat, I'll see. They showed you better than they could tell you. So guess what? All you people who theorize about the Illuminati, guess what? We finna meet them. We finna meet all the Illuminati. Because that's who Trump has got on his back. Right now, they just show 5 of the richest men right now that's on top of it. So what is that going to look like for us? What is that going to look like? So continuing on, conservatives often argue that the government should allow citizens to get ahead economically. So here's another contradiction for symbolic racism, as into getting myself into the word of cognitive dissonance. Okay, so that's another thing I have on my list. So symbolic racism again says, okay, I'm not racist, yet I feel like the black people are always getting stuff from the government and they haven't yet pulled up their bootstraps and started taking a lead on getting what they need to get. But in this same vein, you go to get a job and they're like, they're lazy, they don't want to work, so they don't hire you. Which is it? So let's look at the concept of that. Let's go back to the black codes, right? Vagrancy. So after the Reconstruction era, black people couldn't get no job. So if they had no job, they'll take them to jail. And then they become a ward of the state. And then they'll go back to sharecropping. So when you talk about the 13th Amendment, when it says, because here's the thing, the forefathers were smart. And they still do the same practices to this day. They leave out, they'll never say nigga, they'll never say black people, they'll never use the word slave, but they'll use euphemisms to say who they're talking about. Now, Trump skipped all of that because he ain't smart enough to create no euphemisms. He probably don't even know what that word means. But for the rest of them who's around him, surrounding him, they know how to blow the dog whistle. And so while we walk around here talking about we, it ain't no we here. There's no we. It's them. It's them. And they all know it. We have to start knowing it. We have to start. So right now, the public school systems is finna go to shit. Just FYI. Thank God my son's out of school. Well, at least out of elementary school. And here's the thing. We need to start. I educated my son. Okay? My son, every day, he said, Mom, we don't have to celebrate Black History Month because you talk about Black history every day. I drove him from here to Wedgwood Park every day listening to Malcolm X or James Baldwin or some other historian that he understood who it was. So when they was at school on Black History Month at Wedgwood Park, and he said he came home talking about they was talking about the Holocaust when they should have been talking about all these other Black people that have done phenomenal. We got so many Black people, they only want to stick with Martin Luther King, but they killed them. They killed our leaders. And then want to make them their heroes. What kind of stuff is that? And we let them do it. They appropriate everything. They're starting to sell chitlins more expensive because they know we like them. We got to stop. We really need to stop. And let me get back to symbolic racism. So keep in mind, every time we've made 2 steps forward, they rolled us back. Example, affirmative action, which DEI is kind of like a reboot, because again, it's the wallpaper. Think about the wallpaper. So we had affirmative action, which was adjacent to the Civil Rights Act. Then they have DEI. So DEI was really like affirmative action, just moving people into leadership positions. But again, as a chessboard, if you were cherry picked, then that means your loyalty doesn't go to your people, it goes to the people that pegged you to get there. That's called a sellout or bought out. You can call it the way you want to. And so that problem right there is why nothing never changes, because even though the face changes, the people who are behind the scenes are still doing the same thing. And we're not brave and bold enough to make those differences. We're just not. And one of the things I've said in the past, the only way Black people have assimilated to white people is through their violence. So when you talk about Black on Black violence, which I know that's a hush word, I know people, there ain't no such thing as Black on Black violence. We do be violent to each other, period. But there's a science behind that. There's a pathology behind that. And a lot of it has to do with our area of, concentration, and not just Black people, but white people too, and Hispanics, whoever. And anytime you're starving people out, there's going to be violence and criminality. Just going to be that. So it doesn't make us exclusive of it. It's just saying that everything all of our bad stuff is put underneath a microscope. And we know that, right? So another thing I want to make sure I talk about before my time is up, because again, I'm going to stop at 6, is Democrats and Republicans are both the same people. The only reason why I voted Democrat, because there wasn't an independent person yet to vote for. So the vote is always the worst of 2 evils. And I sure in the heck wasn't going to vote for Trump. Not at all. Okay. Now, I didn't have nothing personal against Kamala Harris at all. And I just didn't, because as somebody who's a professional, I guess, professionalism to me is a status quo marker. But for somebody who considers themselves, a professional, I'm looking at the resume. I'm looking at the qualifications. I've never chose a person just because they're cool and I like them. So that little thing called, it ain't what you know, it's who you know. I know a lot of people, but guess what? I want somebody who knows something that's going to work with me. I guess that's that Capricorn in me. Because I don't want nobody who's going to be dragging their feet. I need a team player, okay? So when we talk about Democrats and Republicans, these are the worst of 2 evils. And if you know your political history, they flip-flop. So when you talk about the Southern strategy of the 60s, then you talk about Reaganomics. Reagan turned the blue red. And that's what Trump called himself doing, except that he added some Hitler sprinkles on it. That's what he did. We got to start paying attention to that. So we got accountability theory. I'm not going to get to I'm going to do another live at 5, maybe in a couple of weeks. I'm going to have to bring it down a notch, because I get excited and stuff and I get really worked up. And so again, just reiterating the dog whistle politics. Again, dog whistle politics was ownership of property meant slaves. It didn't mean land, because if it meant land, they would just say land. But it don't mean that. It meant slaves. Euphemisms, again, abortion. A lot of stuff is not written, because as a doctoral student, I learned this. And you guys who have doctorate degrees and stuff out here, y'all know this. You can't do research on everything. They got a research committee that be like, you can't do that. And that's what makes it so hard to put a lot of our stuff out there, because a lot of it cannot be done. Now, the school that I attend, I like it because they do decolonizing methodologies, and I love that about that school. But there's like, even now I just got off the phone with my mentor, my committee chief or whatever, and she was kind of redirecting me as far as how I could change the language in my work, because if I had it my way, I would be blasted. Okay. And so we can that, and they got it just where you can't do that. Okay. So that's how that works. So a lot of our information, and we got to kind of go back to the old African, sit down with each other and share these stories, these narratives with each other, because a lot of this stuff ain't going to be in print no more. So we're going to have to get creative. We're going to have to start teaching our young who they are. They act out the way they do because they don't know who they are. And that's real. They don't know who they are. And they're so into the social media, hypnotized by the social media, they don't know who they are. That's why they out here like this. So for some of the people that said, I'm leaving, where are you going? They know you American. And right now, there's a lot of stuff going on in the other side of the world. If you haven't been paying attention, they're not stable either. And plus, I owe it to my ancestors to be here. When I went over to Africa in 2019 for the year of the return, they was like, come back, come back. I'm like, for what? I ain't coming back here. Y'all gave us away. Y'all gave us away. Well, we thought we was doing it like they do it over here. Sorry, not convinced. They gave us away. Then now you want me to come back? And y'all ain't even got this country. China got it. So what you want me to come back for? I'm not finna come back. I'm finna do what I need to do here for all of my ancestors who lived and died with no choice. We need to step our game up. We good at doing it to each other. We need to start being real about this and start doing it to everybody else. Because again, they're never gonna know if they don't know. And they're real good with telling us stuff. I've been checked so many times. And as soon as I fix my mouth to say something, ooh, she a threat, ooh, she unsafe, ooh, I'm scared. Them days is over. I don't care if you're scared. I don't care what you say, what you want to do, whatever. I'm not turning no cheeks, and I'm not being a bigger person no more. I'm just not. I don't have it in me. I got too much. I got a family. I got a son. I got a husband. I got that. But I also have my self-worth that I'm not going to compromise anymore because you want to make me feel like I ain't shit. The one thing I will say about the COVID is it forced me to get my own business so I can stop working for people while they always treat me bad. I'm doing all this work and y'all stealing my ideas and everything like that. They've done that for real. So y'all out here, y'all know it. Y'all know it. So Black communities privatization delayed or denied. And this is not just Wisconsin. This is all over the place. This past semester, the class that I taught was multicultural competence, and they had to do a compare and contrast of all the counties and other states. Milwaukee was the one city that they had to do a compare and contrast. It was sad to see those numbers. It was sad. And again, going back to what Scott Walker did a couple of years ago, matter of fact, 2013 to be exact, when he changed the residency rule to allow people from the outside to come in and work. Most of them people, and I got the audit from 2020. I've been trying to keep up with the numbers, but the audit from 2020 by Milwaukee County showed that majority of the people that's making over six figures all live outside of Milwaukee County. And they're all white. Men on top, white and women second, and then it's Asians. We're at the bottom of everything. And I'm not happy about that. I'm not satisfied with being on the bottom. You know what? I'm not satisfied with you being on the bottom either, because I know many of you, I love you and I know you, and you guys got it going on. You just don't know you do. Because we don't tell each other enough what we got going on. We quick to tear each other down, but we're not good for telling each other how to rise up. And I would say this to be honest with you, because me and my son love him. We have really good conversations. I taught him how to kind of have a conversation. We talked about Black people business. We got to step our game up when we talk about business, because we tend to think just because we're Black on Black business that you can do whatever you want to do. No, give me the same love as I'm giving you. If I come into your shop, your store, whatever, I need good customer service. I need stuff to be on time. I need you to be on time. We got to stop doing that to each other. If you got my car and it's going to take 2 weeks, don't tell me tomorrow. Be honest. Tell me, you know what? I got to get a couple of parts. I'll call you, but I'll have this car back to you at least before 2 weeks. I'll give you a call in 3 days and keep you updated. Do that. Don't have me up here waiting. You know I need my car. And just everything. Landlords, whatever thing you doing out here, do it well for your people. Stop giving us knockoff services. And I'm not talking to all of you. I'm talking to, y'all know who I'm talking about. We got to start doing better with our businesses, okay? So I'm going to also talk a little bit, while I got my last 10 minutes, about what's racial etiquette, okay? So racial etiquette is a non-racist category where it refers to a routine actions that go unquestioned by members of the dominant group, which in some way discriminates against members of the racial ethnic categories. Basically, it's them being in denial that they're being racist. Okay. So, and again, that's that saying about implicit bias, like, oh, I didn't know I was being racist. Yes, you did. If you didn't know you was being racist, you sure in the hell knew you was being disrespectful. Okay, you know it, because you know when I do you a certain way, you know when it's disrespectful. So why all of a sudden you don't know it when you do it to me? Stop it. And when I call somebody out on it, I got in trouble. And not only did I get in trouble, but everybody co-signed on it. I was like, are you kidding me? That's another thing. We have to stop doing each other like this. We really do. So passive bystander, again, we're talking about racial etiquette. Racial etiquette also falls on us too. Passive bystanders are the loyalty people show to those who are discriminating. So although they may say, I'm not racist, you contribute to racism when you don't say nothing. And you know what time it is. And when you don't say nothing, the silence is deafening. When you don't say nothing, that's just as bad. Because that's what they call that silent bystander, that innocent bystander. Everybody sees something, but nobody sees anything. Those days have to stop. We have to be intentional nowadays that we're never going to let nobody ever, because here's the thing. The school system said, we don't want white children to have their feelings hurt or whatever, but our Black children can be hurt every single day. Every single day, our Black children, they have it in their minds where we can take it. And we've normalized it. We normalized the aggressive abuse. We normalize this as a culture. I'm bad. I'm down. I'm this. I'm that. No, we are human beings. They have monsterized us. They made us aggressive. They made us suffer. They make us struggle. We don't have to do all that. And we have to stop turning the other cheek. And we have to stop being a bigger person. And we have to stop giving it to Jesus. Remember, he too was sold out for a criminal. Remember that. Matthew what? 13:27. He was sold out. The people gave his life up for a criminal. Sounds familiar? So, cognitive dissonance. Leon Festinger, A Theory of Cognitive Dissonance, started this in 1957. And I haven't had the chance to read the whole book yet, but I will. It's on my list of things to do. But a lot of you have heard of cognitive dissonance before. And actually, my first time hearing about cognitive dissonance was from one of my favorite people, Dr. Joy DeGruy. Love her, love her, love her. And so this is what exactly word verbatim what the author wrote in this book from 1957. It has frequently been implied and sometimes even pointed out that the individual strives towards consistency within himself. His opinions and attitudes, for example, tend to exist in clusters that are intentionally consistent. Certainly, one may find exceptions. Here's the good part. A person may think Negroes, that's what they used in the book, are just as good as whites, but, which but cancels everything out, would not want any living in his neighborhood. Or someone may think little children should be quiet and unobtrusive and yet may be quite proud when the child aggressively captures the attention of adult or guest. So again, this mindset is, oh yeah, kind of going back to the we created equal, separate but equal, which has never changed. Separate but equal has not changed. And so he says Negroes are just as good as whites, but they wouldn't want to live next door to us. So isn't that a contradiction? Is that a contradiction? So if I'm as good as you, I can't live next door to you? Why? So that's what I'm saying. That's the cognitive dissonance, where you lying to yourself to the point you lying to us all. And you got too much power to be a liar. Because your lies is not going to define my freedom and the things that I need to do to live every day. And so I asked my community, and one person when I was at the African American Round Table, shout out to them, is the one gentleman said, unity is in community. We need to get back to that. We need to get back to not before we love our neighbors. Hell, we need to learn who they are first. We need to know who our neighbors are. Because the neighborhood is gone. We went from neighbor, now the hood is just dangling. We can't do that no more. And when we talk about Bronzeville, don't get it twisted, y'all. That's gentrification. Every time y'all be like, oh, they building us some new buildings. No, they not. They building them some new buildings. Stop thinking they doing something for you. And if they are doing something for you, ask what it is. Because there's always something behind something. Because if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. And another thing I want to say before I wrap up, because I got 7 minutes. Do better by your children. Do better by your children and your grandchildren. Start talking to them. Start letting them talk to you. Turn off that booty shaking, twerking music. Educate their minds. Make them feel important. Show them empathy. Validate their feelings. Stop yelling at them. That creates anxiety and it hurts their feelings. Start loving your children. Start taking care of them. Stop being distracted. Start paying attention to their education. We can do better. Why would they take our votes? Why would they try to dismantle our educational system if they knew it wasn't going to build us up? Why would they keep doing the thing? Anytime they're taking something away from us, why is that? Think about that. We got to do better. We got to be at a point where if you see my son doing something wrong, I should be able to say something in the same to you too. We have to learn how to respectfully hold each other accountable. We have to start being there for each other. We have to stop referring to each other as bitches and niggas. We got to shut it down. We got to start doing better. Liberation is important, especially in the time we are in now. I'll say my last is we don't need leaders. We need community. We need a leader in everybody. One of the things that I've noticed about African Americans, because we so badly want to be like white folks, we try to do them and we don't do it well. We do better when we are all equally yoked and take our own individual talents to bring it to the table like a potluck dinner. We can't be focusing on who's running this and who's running that. We cannot know, because you know what happens? Like all the churches, and I'm not even getting religion, I promise you today, but we could do more with one church than 5. We can do more with somehow coming together, putting our money in our own systems, and we have to start fighting harder. And we have to stop letting our sons and daughters become felons. We got to do better. So, as I wrap up, I just want to thank everybody for being here. I appreciate you guys. This will not be my last live. I'll probably give myself 2 weeks so I can come up with some more information that I feel is pertinent. But I think maybe the next time I would want to talk to more of the younger people, because they were crying out to know what the political process was all about. A lot of them just didn't understand it, didn't know. They had questions, and we can't allow them to not know, because they are our future. And so we have a responsibility. If the church has got to open their basements again to do Black history and other things like that, let us do that. Let's use that space as they used to use it a long time ago, when it meant something. Stop entertaining people on Sunday. We got to do better. That's all I'm asking. So with that being said, I thank you. I'm getting ready to close out, and I'm hoping that this message doesn't stop right here. I hope that you all can extend this olive branch, because I know a lot of you out here, and all of you are important. All of you. I know so many of you. Y'all the bomb. And we are the bomb. Black folks across from East Coast to West Coast, we are the bomb. And we got to start acting like that. We got to start treating ourselves like that. We got to start teaching our children to do that. And that's what it got to take. And we got to stop being the consumers of garbage, because Trump raising these tariffs, no more Shein, no more Temu, no more Amazon, everything made in China. Some of y'all don't need no clothes anyway. Y'all got enough clothes. I know I do. Some of my buying is just my stress and my anxiety. I just buy when I'm stressed and anxious. It's either chocolate ice cream or Amazon. Pick your poison. But again, I'm a mental health professional. I want to start opening up my services to start helping people that need to get through this. Me and my one of my community partners, Brenda Wesley, God bless her, I love her. She and I do community psychoeducation groups on mental health, and we got a thing called Why is the Village Burning? Maybe we can do that also next time I'm doing a live. Me and her can do it together. But we do a lot of community education work, and so this is a time where we need to start having this moment, because when we were doing this in the 1700s, that's what won us our freedom. We ain't free yet, and we just learned that. So until next time, again, I think I'm gonna do so. I'll keep everybody in up to date, but I think I do want to do something more for the younger people to to educate them and have a platform so that you can share this moment with them too, and then have some dialogue to talk about this with them after that. Okay, so love you all, and signing out.